Hey everyone and welcome. So, have you ever had that one local restaurant? You know, the one you absolutely love. It's your go-to spot. And then they decide to expand. And all of a sudden, the magic is just gone. It happens all the time, right? Well, today we're going to dig into exactly why that happens. We're talking about a hidden danger that comes with success, and it's called the scalability trap.
It always starts with these four little words. Someone, maybe an investor, a regular customer, says this to the owner of that amazing restaurant. And it sounds like the best compliment in the world. But honestly, those four words can be the kiss of death for a great concept. It's the first step into a really common and really expensive trap.
And this is it. This is the scalability trap. On paper, everything looks amazing, more locations are opening, revenue is going up, but underneath the surface, the core systems that made the restaurant great to begin with are starting to crumble. It's kind of like a secret poison that kills great restaurants from the inside out.
Okay, so when a restaurant chain starts to fail, we usually blame the obvious stuff, right? We say, oh, the rent was too high or the location was bad, but those things are really just symptoms. The real root of the problem, the thing that starts it all, is this fundamental conflict between two very different kinds of people.
So on one side, you've got the entrepreneur. This is the visionary, the storyteller. They create that magnetic concept that people just fall in love with. And on the other side, you've got the operator. This is the systems person, the one who's obsessed with process and making sure that amazing burger tastes exactly the same every single time. And here's the kicker. The person who's great at one is almost never great at the other. The entrepreneur is fantastic at scaling the brand, but they totally forget to scale the systems. And the operator, they usually get brought in way too late when the cracks are already showing.
And this right here, this is the core mistake everyone makes. See, opening another location, that's a real estate decision. It's about finding a building and getting a loan. But scaling a concept, that's a systems decision. It's about building all the invisible stuff that lets you perfectly replicate the magic, even when the founder isn't there to oversee everything. And most restaurants, well, they just do the first part.
So what happens when a business grows without these systems? It basically rips open these huge holes in the operation. There are three specific gaps that emerge, and they're what quietly destroy a great brand from the inside. Let's break down exactly what they are.
First up is the identity gap. Okay, so in that first location, the restaurant's identity, it all lives inside the founder's head, right? They make every decision based on gut instinct. But here's the problem. You can't clone the founder. When you open location number 2 and number 3, that instinct doesn't scale. Your new managers are left guessing, and slowly, the brand's true identity, what you actually stand for, it just gets lost. So what's the solution? You've got to create a brand playbook. And listen, this isn't some fluffy marketing document with your logo colors. No way. This is a practical, operational guide. It forces you to answer the tough questions before you expand. It makes sure every single manager gets the DNA of the brand so they can make decisions that line up with that original vision.
Which brings us right to gap number 2, the coordination gap. Think about it. In one location, the owner is just there. They see everything, they talk to everyone, they fix problems on the fly. But that management style, just being physically present, it just doesn't scale. Without that shared context, all the tiny little decisions from how you handle a customer complaint to how much sauce goes on the pizza, they all start to drift apart. And pretty soon, you've got 1,000 tiny little inconsistencies that are killing customer trust.
You know what's wild? The fix for this is actually pretty simple. It's all about creating daily reference points. I'm talking about a quick 10-minute meeting before every single shift. You ask, what's our financial goal for today? What are our 2 biggest priorities? What are we trying to sell? This little ritual, it creates a shared brain across the entire company. It turns a bunch of individuals into a real team that's all on the same page, no matter which location they're in. It's so powerful.
And finally, we have the knowledge gap. This is a huge, systemic problem in the restaurant industry. All this critical know-how, like how to properly manage food costs or read a profit and loss statement, it doesn't get shared effectively. It's often locked away in one person's head. What this means is that every new manager has to learn from scratch by making the same costly mistakes over and over again. It's a super slow and expensive way to learn. The answer here is a total shift in mindset. It's about deliberate learning. You have to stop waiting for a crisis to teach you a lesson. Instead, you go out and find the knowledge proactively. You send your team to courses, you learn from other industries, and you treat that knowledge like a company asset that needs to be shared with everyone. You build the library before you desperately need the book.
All right, so we've looked at the problem from all angles. We've talked about the solutions for each gap. Now, let's pull it all together into a clear, actionable game plan for how to avoid the scalability trap in the first place.
So here's the 4-step prescription. And the key is you have to do all of this before you even think about signing a lease on a second location. Step 1, document your identity. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Step 2, build those coordination tools, like the daily briefings. Step 3, figure out what your team doesn't know and train them before it becomes an emergency. And finally, step 4, be really honest with yourself. If you're the big picture entrepreneur, go hire a detail-obsessed operator. If you're the operator, find that visionary. You need both.
And that brings us to the final, really powerful idea here. It's the one truth that ties this entire thing together.
When we see a great restaurant expand and then fail, we get sad about the food, right? We say, oh, the pizza just wasn't as good anymore. But this quote absolutely nails it. The food was never the real problem. The problem was the invisible system that was supposed to protect the quality of that food, and it just wasn't there.
So here's the ultimate takeaway. The restaurants that make it big, the ones that successfully scale, they aren't always the ones with the best recipe or the coolest brand. They're the ones that took the time to build the invisible infrastructure first. They built the system before they built the next location.
And that really leaves us with one last question to think about. And it applies whether you're in the restaurant business or frankly, any business at all. As you think about your own growth, are you just focused on building another thing, or are you focused on building the system that will allow that thing you do so well to be great everywhere, every time?